们有跟元宝合作，对不对？
你要记得按哦。
是哦，那所以之前
录影
那个是白经理嘛？不是，白经理是另外一个，对不对？
可以直接是
是华冠啊，白经理是华冠。
有听到吗？
可以戴耳机吗？
不
行，你戴耳机我就没办法录到声音了。
谢谢，好，拜拜。
可以吗？
你要叫我安静一点。
好，我等下叫宝宝不要讲话。
怎么了？
你不要在那里讲话了，他等下上课，关起来一样很大声音。
就先关起来就对了。
你不要讲话了哦。
接电话嘛，就是那个
开始录音吗？
开始录影了。课本拿出来了。
对啊，我知道，你是那个。
Hi, Hugo. Hi, Ivan. Everybody, please turn on so we can get started. All right, here comes Ramona. I'll wait till your cameras are on. Hi, Ramona. We're waiting for Ivan. Did you guys have a good weekend so far? A good Saturday? Yeah, did you go anywhere? Do anything fun? No? All right, Ivan, are you there? Okay, we'll start a review and then I'm going to check back with Ivan so he turns his camera on. All right, because we have to have cameras on unless there's a problem, because I can't see people raise their hand. I can't see if you understand. All right, so what did we talk about in the last class, and why were we, there he is, and why were we talking about culture? Why were we talking about culture? Well, we read an article, right, that talked about tangible and intangible culture, right? So tangible culture are those things you can touch, like an historic building, right? Maybe the Eiffel Tower, right, in Paris, right? That's a symbol of their culture. But intangible are things like norms, values, and beliefs. And it's important to understand those things because when you encounter people from other cultures, whether it be in school, when you go to university, or whether you're in a debate with somebody and you can't get past some type of differences, perhaps faces that are made, right? Or certain words that are used. Put up to be able to have good critical thinking discussions with people. What I'm sharing here on the screen, who remembers what the heritage site was? What did we read in the last article? Ramona, do you remember what we were reading about in the last article?
I think it's about people and children that is forced to marry early.
Well, we were yes, that was an example, right, about people that got married, not necessarily forced to marry, but that's actually true in some cultures, right, where there are what we call pre-arranged marriages. That's all part of the culture, and if you don't understand the culture, it becomes a lot more difficult to understand the person and even what they're trying to tell you. So in the last class, we read about UNESCO and World Heritage Site that establishes intangible, they started to develop a list of intangible traditions or culture. And this is the site. I didn't have it in the last class because it was either down or there was something going on. I couldn't get to it. But here they list all of the different ones that are designated. The top ones are in urgent need of safeguarding, so they're in danger of disappearing. You can see everything from, if I click on one, traditional Syrian glass blowing. All right, here there's usually a little video on it. There's pictures that you can see, but these are all traditions. I put this in the classroom, and this is actually quite interesting. It has a number of different things that everything from glass blowing to a wellness culture to a community celebration. So many different things, okay, on it. So a good place to go if you're interested in, sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. It's a good place to go if you're interested in looking at different cultures or learning about different things. All right, so what we have today is we're going to talk more about culture, and we have a reading about Kung Fu. Who has taken Kung Fu? Have you ever read about Kung Fu? Did you realize it was a tradition? Well, it is, and that's what we're going to learn about today. So we're going to go into the reading with this today. Then we're going to talk more about culture, and we're going to talk about the me versus you. But before we get that, we were talking about tangible and intangible. What does the word intangible mean? What kind of culture is intangible? Who can give me an example? Ramona?
Untouchable, but
You're right.
Like
right, you can't touch it. It could be a belief, right? Like you said, like a prearranged marriage or something like that. This is going to explain it a little bit more, although they call it material versus non-material. Non-material are the same things as intangible, things that you cannot touch. Right?
States. Would you talk?
Here we go.
How would you describe the culture of the United States? Would you talk about the way we dress, the foods that originated here, the English language, the way we salute the American flag? What about our individualistic values and emphasis on competition? Culture can be defined as the language, norms, values, beliefs, and more that together form a people's way of life. It is a combination of elements that affect how people think, how they act, and what they own. American culture, for instance, includes everything just mentioned. It also includes our history, architecture, accepted behavior, and so much more. Culture is an essential part of being human. No one is completely without it. In fact, an individual can be part of many cultures and subcultures. For example, someone who lives in the U.S. could be part of the national culture in addition to the distinct culture of the South, a religious community, a heritage group, and more. There are many...
Okay, so workplaces have culture. Later on, when you get a job, you're going to hear about a workplace culture, right? They'll talk about traditions or values, right? How do you dress? How do you, what type of style clothes do you wear? How do you address people? Do you call them by their first name, or do you say Mr. and Mrs., right? What other kind of cultures do you think there are? What's something that's part of your culture, Ivan?
Our culture, we have some Chinese culture because we have some Chinese culture, like speaking like our language and like there's all different roles. We have like
Okay.
Our history is
Yeah, that's part of your culture.
Culture is nice.
Good, Ivan. Good job. Ramona, what did you have to add?
There is also milk tea.
Okay, that's right. That's one. That's in your culture. Very good. Hugo, what's something about your culture? Something that you're familiar with? What do you think, Hugo? What about a particular holiday that you celebrate?
Christmas.
Okay, that could be one. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going.
Many elements and aspects of culture. However, each can be categorized as either material or non-material culture. Material culture includes all the physical things that people create and attach meaning to. Clothing, food, tools, and architecture are examples of material culture that most people would think of. Natural objects and materials, rock, dirt, trees, etc., aren't considered to be part of material culture. However, how people view natural objects and how they use them are. Non-material culture includes creations and abstract ideas that are not embodied in physical objects. In other words, any intangible products created and shared between the members of a culture over time are aspects of their non-material culture. Social role.
So this is where it becomes important in understanding other people's culture. So imagine, now this is not true, but imagine, I'm going to give an extreme example. Imagine if Hugo and I were debating, and we're sitting in a debate room, and what if in my culture, to show that I'm listening to somebody and I respect somebody, imagine if I sat there and went like this and looked at Hugo. That would seem really rude, right? You'd go, what is wrong with her? She's weird, she's strange, she's being disrespectful. But then what if you learned and understood that that was the way they showed respect and that's how they showed they were listening to you? But if you didn't understand that that was part of their culture, you'd never get past that. You'd never be able to respond to them, truly hear what they're saying, and get to a better understanding. That was an extreme example, but that's why understanding roles, rules, ethics, and beliefs is important, right? Okay.
Rules, ethics, and beliefs are just some examples. All of them are crucial guides for members of a culture to use to know how to behave in their society and interpret the world. The word culture is often used as a synonym for nation and society, but they aren't the same thing. A nation is a territory with designated borders. A nation can be found on a map. A society is a population in which people interact and share common interests. A society can be found in a nation. Culture, on the other hand, is a people's shared way of living. Culture can be found in a society, and it can also be shared between societies. To illustrate the difference between these three concepts, think of the lost city of Atlantis described in literature. According to most accounts, it was its own continent, a round island somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantis, the nation, would be composed of the entire island. It is rumored that the Atlanteans who lived there were a great people. Atlantis, the society, would be this population and the social world they create by interacting with each other. It is also thought that the lost city was very advanced, a marvel of architecture, engineering, and technology. The culture of Atlantis would include the physical things created by the Atlanteans and their way of life, their beliefs, language, norms, knowledge, and so on. In summary.
Okay, so that was just another review of a lot of times when you learn about culture in school, right, at your level, you learn culture is about music, festivals, food, right? But the big thing that's missing from that is all of the beliefs, norms, and rules that go into that. What hand do you shake? Does it matter? Does it matter if you shake my right or left hand, Ivan? If we're meeting in business, does it matter what hand we shake?
No. I like shaking left hands because I'm left-handed.
Well, what if in my culture it's considered very rude to shake with your left hand?
I'll shake with my right hand.
Right. But see, that's why it's important. That's why it's important to learn and understand other people's culture, because if you don't know that about me, now that's not true. You can shake either one of my hands, but there are some cultures that you only are supposed to shake with a certain hand. And if you don't know that ahead of time, it's hard to get to the level of really getting to know somebody, critical thinking, understanding their ideas because of cultural differences or biases. Ramona?
Teacher, in the kind of culture, nobody washes their hands. They use the left hands to grab things and the right hand just to eat.
That's right. That's part of the reason. That is true. All right. So now, go ahead.
Also a place where you just go to a place and you don't have a bathroom. You can just ask someone if can I use your bathroom, and that person cannot say no. It has to say yes. Yeah.
Where do they have to say yes at?
If somebody asks you, can I go to borrow your toilet? You have to say yes in a place. I'm not sure what place, but some place.
Oh, you're talking about a place that requires you to do that. Okay, I understand now. So that's particular to a culture.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Just
okay.
Other people's toilets.
But see, that's the thing. It's not actually weird to them, right? We're the ones that are weird that don't understand that. So that's the whole point behind culture, right? It seems weird to us. It seems rude to us. But it's very normal to them. That's one of their norms or values or beliefs. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Kung Fu, which Kung Fu has a very rich culture and tradition when it first started. Started many years ago, okay? In the 5th century it talks about. So before we start that, kind of an interesting little thing I'm going to show you. We can't watch all of this. It's long. But I want you to see, this is inside the temple that they're talking about in our reading, okay? So here we go. We're going to watch a little bit of this.
Don't mess with these kids. They're masters of Shaolin Kung Fu, one of the oldest forms of Chinese martial arts. The birthplace of Shaolin Kung Fu is said to be right here, at the foot of Mount Song, in central China, where the Shaolin Temple sits.
你好，你来了。我叫韩少，小名叫艾克。我来少林习武已经5年了。我最经常练的是童子功。
Tongzi Gong means Kung Fu mastered during childhood. It's a form of Shaolin martial art that kids start practicing as early as 4 years old. Those who succeed are incredibly flexible, even as adults. Here's one iconic move, the Iron Head. It makes their heads as hard as a rock, so they can handle any attack. This is Yeli Changhua. You're supposed to bend your body so far backwards your feet touch your head. Aika is among a group of 9 kids training at this temple. They're aged between 4 and 18.
We'll watch just a little bit of day 1 and then we're going to do our reading.
今天的任务简单，今天有些讨厌看的东西往师姐介绍。
他说带我去一个好玩的地方，然后把我带到了少林。
All right, so very interesting, right? Kind of an interesting thing to watch, right? It's too long for us to watch in class, but I shared it just because it's kind of cool to watch. All right, now we're on to our reading. All right, so this is all about how Kung Fu is changing. Kung Fu was established as a tradition, right? A deep tradition that was for fighting. But now, today, people want to use it to become a movie star or for other reasons. And they're trying to, this is about the master, the Kung Fu master, who's trying to maintain some of this as a tradition. So let's go ahead and read. Who will read the first? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it bigger, and then when we get to this side, I'll move over, and I'll move down as well. So the first 2 paragraphs. Who is my reader? You're all going to have to read, so. Okay, Ramona, go ahead.
In the 5th century, according to legend, an Indian master taught some monks at the Shaolin Temple a series of exercises or forms inspired by the movements of animals. These forms became the basis for the style of fighting known as Kung Fu. Over 16 centuries, the monks have used Kung Fu for self-defense and in war. With it, they have won many battles against their enemies.
Good. All right. Yeah, go ahead. I want you to read the second one. Go ahead.
In Dingxing today, 10 kilometers from the Shaolin Temple, there are over 60 martial arts schools. Martial arts schools with more than 5 million students. They come to the school.
So 50,000 students?
Oh, 50,000 students. They come to the schools for a variety of reasons. Some hope to become movie stars. Others come to learn skills that would ensure good jobs in their military or police force. A few are sent by their parents to learn self-control and hard work.
Good. So a martial art is Kung Fu is one form. Others are Tai Chi, karate. Those are all forms of martial art. Okay, paragraph C, and then you're going to do D as well. So, and I'll move up when we get to that. C and D. Ivan, will you read for me, please?
Master Hu Sensei teaches at a small school in Beijing. Recently, he has offered a role in Kung Fu movie.
An important role.
In Kung Fu movie. It would be a good publicity for the school, but he did not accept. He didn't agree with how Kung Fu is often shown in movies. He feels like too much violence.
Good. All right, keep going. Keep going, Ivan. We're reading 2 paragraphs. Go ahead.
Unlike many large schools, which teaches acrobatics and kicking,
kickboxing
is students' traditional Kung Fu forms. Teaches learn the way to master a Shaolin legend taught him, but attracting new students, the style of Kung Fu has become a problem. Who is afraid his art will soon die out? He has to remind his students that Kung Fu was designed for fighting, not to entertain.
Good job. All right, E and F. Hugo, please read.
There are no
acrobatics.
Acrobatics here. He said it is hard to convince body
Uh-huh.
to spend many years learning some things that won't make them well or famous.
Wealthy, good, wealthy or famous. Good job. Okay, paragraph F, go ahead.
Now students have better days,
Good.
sleep in unheated room,
Unheated rooms.
and train outside no matter what the
Good, the temperature.
They hit
Good.
trees with their bare hands.
Bare hands, so no gloves or nothing. Bare hands.
Their hands and take turns sit on each other's shoulder to build their
Strength, good.
strength. Why such hardship to matter kung fu? They must learn respect and how to eat not
Bitterness. How to eat bitterness.
how to eat bitterness. Must train
Mandarin, so that's the most popular dialect of Chinese. A Mandarin expression.
Mandarin expression need to enjoy
Endure suffering.
the life of the student master. Young teacher is not easy or
Not easy or attractive. All right. So who knows this phrase? Do you know this phrase? How do you say eat bitterness in Chinese? Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me? Ramona?
吃苦.
Okay, and that's the phrase, right? Does that mean like, hey, endure it, keep going? Is that what that means?
No.
No, I think they're talking about a phrase, and I'm not sure what it is. Obviously, I don't speak the language, where it means like if you were one of those kids and it means keep going. There's a phrase in Chinese, apparently. Okay. All right, paragraph G. I will take paragraph G. Master Yu is in a difficult position. For old traditions to survive, the young must learn. Gradually, he has begun offering a few courses in kickboxing and acrobatic kung fu forms, hoping to attract new students. Then, maybe he'll be able to convince them to learn Shaolin, I have to remember that, kung fu the traditional way. All right, so we saw this. This is the temple here, the picture, right? And we saw this as part of the video we just saw. We saw that at the school where they're actually training.